What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raise.
The 2022 adaptation of the famous story about the Addams family is packed with references, Easter eggs, and tiny little details only the most dedicated fans noticed. From Christina Ricci's role to Addams family values, connections, and even a Tim Burton-inspired mouse, here's everything you missed in the first season of the series. Enjoy the video. Let's start off with Christina Ricci.
Good evening, girls. I'm Miss Thornhill. I trust Enid has given you the old Nevermore welcome.
Did you guys know that she played the villain in the series? Okay, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that Christina Ricci played Nevermore's botany professor Marilyn Thornhill. The glasses and the different hair color did what they were supposed to. And while I knew she was set to appear, I wouldn't have known she was the botany professor if I didn't Google her character. What's really amazing is that Ricci played the role of Wednesday Addams in the 90s Addams Family movies. Jenna Ortega revealed that the two didn't mention the character once because Ortega wanted to give her own authentic performance of the part. But did you guys know that the series references a scene from Addams Family Values?
Genießen Sie Ihr authentisches Pilgrimfudge aus Kakaobohnen.
Only the most dedicated Addams Family fans noticed this reference. Honestly, I was so disappointed that I didn't catch this. The Netflix show used the Pilgrim world to reference the Addams Family values as in the 1993 film. Wednesday, portrayed by the aforementioned Christina Ricci, burns down a camp after being forced to take part in a play about Thanksgiving. Tim Burton, the creator of the series, knew exactly what he was doing when creating the scene with Wednesday speaking German, because the famous character from the 90s is known to hate colonialism and pilgrims. Now let's see the Edgar Allan Poe references, shall we? Edgar Allan Poe, one of the most talented and incredible American writers and poets, is referenced in the Netflix series a lot. In fact, there's an Edgar Allan Poe reference used in the name of the fictitious school. The school's name is inspired by one of Edgar's most celebrated poems, The Raven. The poem features the bird saying the word Nevermore. Also, in the second episode of the series, the Nevermore students compete in the aptly named Poe Cup. Another thing fans didn't know about is that there's a mouse inspired by Tim Burton. The team that created the series wanted to give Tim Burton as much appreciation as possible, and so the amazingly talented filmmaker is often referenced throughout the series, a trend that is expected to continue in Season 2. Production designer Mark Scruton told Netflix's Toodum they wanted to include small creatures inspired by Burton's films and the taxidermy shop Uriah's Heep, including the aforementioned mouse. By the way, did you guys know that Tim Burton himself asked to meet Jenna Ortega and ask her if she wanted to play Wednesday? Thus, Ortega received an email from Burton himself. How amazing is that? Now let's move on to Yoko Ono.
Yoko, come on, flare those whiskers.
As mentioned before, the second episode of the series, titled Woe is the Loneliest Number, features the Nevermore students as they prepare for the Edgar Allan Poe Cup. Enid is quite worried as she asks for more people to help her paint her canoe, as they all paint black cats on the canoe. In the same episode, Enid and Wednesday talk about Rowan as Wednesday claims she saw him die, but as you know, he returned the next day. Kind of. Per a report by Netflix, you need to smash that like button if you haven't done it already. When Enid says they all saw him this morning, very much not dead, she calls another student, Yoko, to flare the whiskers. The Poe Cup droops for no one, she says. Yoko Tanaka, played by Naomi J. Ogawa, has long dark hair and wears a pair of Windsor glasses. Yoko Ono, the real Japanese-American artist, has worn a similar pair of glasses in her life, and it's quite obvious that this was a reference to her. Now let's see the inspiration behind Wednesday's name. Where did the name come from? In the comics, yes, the Addams Family is based on comics, the characters had no names. But the title of Wednesday Episode 1 perfectly explains how Charles Addams came up with Wednesday's name back when he was supposed to create a series with characters that have no names. In fact, Morticia gives an explanation about where Wednesday's name came from. She says the name comes from a nursery rhyme with the line, "Wednesday's child is full of woe." Did you guys catch the ScoobyDoo references?
Listen, Velma. Why don't you and the Scooby Gang stick to your homework and leave the investigating to the professionals?
In the fourth episode of the series, viewers can hear a Scooby-Doo reference given by Jericho's town sheriff. For those not familiar, the new Scooby-Doo movies feature the Addams family in a crossover episode in 1972. Listen, Velma, Sheriff Donovan Galpin tells Wednesday, Why don't you and the Scooby Gang stick to your homework and leave the investigating to the professionals? In the first crossover episode released way back in the 1972 series titled Wednesday is Missing, Gomez and Morticia decide to go on a second honeymoon, leaving Scooby-Doo and his gang to sit with the rest of the family. But when Wednesday goes missing, the gang needs to solve yet another mystery. Now I know a lot of you noticed this, but I just had to leave space for the 2 snaps in our video. One of the most awaited Easter eggs in the Netflix series is the famous 2 snaps that were first featured in the 60s series. When the titular character finally discovers the passage to the Nightshade's meeting room, she snaps 2 times to enter. But what about the arrow and the apple? As mentioned before, there are several references to the 1991's The Addams Family. One of them includes an arrow and an apple. In the 1991 adaptation, Wednesday ties up her brother Pugsley and puts an apple in his mouth. She then takes out a crossbow and pulls the trigger. The Netflix adaptation references this in the very first episode. While going to Nancy Reagan High School, Pugsley is constantly bullied. Once he gets tied up and these bullies put him in a locker with an apple in his mouth. When his sister discovers what they did to him, she pays the ultimate revenge, and well, the rest is history. The next Easter egg is regarding Cousin Ignatius It. There are dedicated Wednesday fans, and there are fans who knew who the person in this portrait was. The portrait of Cousin Ignatius It is shown in the basement of the secret society of the Nightshades. Behind the portrait, Wednesday discovers something really important that would later help her with the murder mystery she tries to solve. Ignatius It, as Uncle Fester says to Wednesday, is actually a member of the original lineup of Addams Family members and the first TV version of the Addams Family. Although we referenced the cousin as a person before, he is not. All he is formed of is blonde hair that goes from his head to the ground. Now let's get into some exciting details about the architecture of Nevermore Academy. Fans who have noticed the Easter eggs hidden in the architecture of Nevermore Academy deserve to be given an award. The Gargoyles and the Quad indicate the arrival of new characters, and sometimes the Gargoyles indicate what would happen later in the series. The set designer Mark Scruton told Variety that all the Gargoyles are designed to represent the different groups within the schools. So there are vampires and gorgons and sirens, but what about Wednesday's dorm?
Howdy, roomie.
Did you know it was named after Morticia Addams' sister? We previously mentioned that Cousin It was referenced in the series, but there are other Addams Family members who are mentioned as well. Although we weren't given a chance to see these characters, they are still there. Uncle Fester and Grandmama Addams are mentioned a couple of times. Yes, Fester even makes an appearance, although we wish we could have seen him in more episodes. Per a report by Netflix, you need to smash that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss out on any of our videos in the future. Ophelia Frump, Morticia Addams' sister and Wednesday and Pugsley's aunt in the original The Addams Family TV series from 1964, is yet to appear, but Wednesday's dorm at Nevermore Academy is named after her, Ophelia. See you in the next video.